No one thought the distress signal would be answered. On the edge of the mapped galaxy, the mining colony of Jareth 9 had fallen silent weeks ago. Communications were spotty, and when the last routine check failed, the Interstellar Coalition declared it lost. Supply drones and patrol frigates were diverted elsewhere. Jareth 9 was a remote rock, hardly worth the risk. But Lieutenant Commander Talia Wren, a veteran of the Outer Rim operations, disagreed. She had seen too many colonies disappear quietly, only to be rediscovered after catastrophe. There was something about the faint pulse she'd picked up in the void, a patterned SOS repeating in intervals so small it almost seemed deliberate, that she could not ignore. Beginning, the signal in the void. Talia piloted the ardent horizon through the dark expanse, her crew tense but disciplined. The star field outside the viewport seemed endless, an infinite ocean speckled with light. The signal was weak, distorted by nebula interference, but she could make out enough to understand its urgency. "It's old," said Navigator Raiden Cho, frowning at the readings. "At least 3 weeks old, maybe more. Whoever sent it, they are gone or barely holding on. Or they are waiting," Talia countered. "And if they are, I'm not about to let them wait any longer." The source appeared on sensors as a tiny blip, a dim starship barely functioning, surrounded by the barren industrial sprawl of the mining colony. Life readings were erratic, fragmented. There was evidence of struggle, hull breaches, and scorched landing pads. "Visual feed up," Talia ordered. The monitors flickered to life, showing a dusty, cratered planet below. In the colony bay, automated equipment had been abandoned mid-operation. One crane had toppled over. Smoke curled from ruptured habitat domes. "It's a ghost town," whispered Ensign Lyra Vose, staring at the screen. "Not a ghost," Talia corrected. "A trap." She knew the stories. The Deathworlders. Myths in most coalition sectors. A species of warriors so adapted to lethal planets that their biology was literally survival incarnate. They thrived in extreme radiation, crushing gravity, and toxic atmospheres. Entire fleets had vanished without a trace in territories they claimed. To encounter them was to invite annihilation. And the SOS? The SOS was deliberate. Someone clever, had summoned them. The first contact. The team deployed a reconnaissance drone to the colony surface. It transmitted images of devastation, shattered mining rigs, smoldering defense turrets, and claw marks on the reinforced metal walls that could only have been made by a species several times taller than a human. Then the first transmission arrived, a garbled but unmistakable voice in a language no one on board recognized. The frequency shifted almost impossibly fast, almost as if the speaker existed across multiple dimensions of sound. Talia's stomach tightened. "That's them," she said. "We've awakened the Deathworlders." It wasn't long before the sky burned with movement. Massive ships, organic and metallic fused into a grotesque beauty, emerged from the folds of space above the colony. They moved with terrifying coordination, shadowed in dark energy fields that distorted the light around them. "Lieutenant," shouted Raiden. They're scanning us." The Deathworlder vessels were unlike anything the Coalition had catalogued. Their hulls seemed to breathe, contracting and expanding. Plasma weapon arrays rotated into firing positions as if aware of the ardent horizon before the crew even knew where to aim. "We came for a rescue," Talia muttered. "They don't care about us." But then came the twist. The Deathworlders did not fire. Instead, they hovered, massive silhouettes against the scarred colony, pulsing in patterns that resembled the SOS signal itself. The ship's sensors registered faint energy signatures aligning with the transmission's original frequency. They are responding, Lyra whispered. They are communicating through the SOS. Talia leaned forward. She had seen enough close encounters to know that understanding an alien intent often meant survival. Open a channel, she ordered. If we're alive, it's because someone wants us to be. The response came not in words but in waves of kinetic pulses, a symphony of energy and sound that resonated through the hull. The crew felt it in their bones. A single message emerged from the chaos: protection for those who called for help. The SOS had summoned them. But why? And from whom? As the ardent horizon transmitted the colony's coordinates and status, Talia realized the grim truth. Someone, or some group of humans, had known that the only way to survive the Deathworlders was to appeal to their instinct for preserving life, even if it meant summoning a fleet that could not be controlled. The colony's distress signal wasn't a plea. It was a calculated beacon. And it had worked. The unstoppable power. Over the following hours, the Deathworlder fleet became the colony's shield. Attacks from hostile raiders attempting to exploit the colony's weakened state were obliterated. Their adaptive weaponry recalibrated instantly. Enemy boarding craft that breached the atmosphere were vaporized by gravity wells generated by the Deathworlder hulls. Commander, Raiden said, awestruck. They're unstoppable. Talia nodded grimly. They only serve the SOS. They are not ours. We can't command them. But they follow the call to protect life, even when that life is reckless enough to summon them. The human colonists emerged from their shelters, cautious but amazed. They had expected no help, yet here it was, not from coalition forces, not from diplomacy, but from a species so feared it had become a legend. What did we do to deserve this? Whispered Lyra. Called for help, Talia said, and trusted the universe to answer. Ending, the aftermath. Days later, the Deathworlders withdrew. The SOS had been honored, the colony secured, and the fleet disappeared into the void as silently as it had arrived. There were no celebrations aboard the ardent horizon, only contemplation. The crew understood that they had witnessed something ancient and incomprehensible, a species operating on survival codes beyond human morality, yet capable of responding to a human act of desperation. The SOS signal was shut down. Its energy logs, however, revealed something extraordinary. Whoever sent the call had understood the Deathworlders' psychology perfectly. They had gambled with a force that no human could hope to control, and won. Talia filed her report with the Coalition, deliberately leaving out the most dangerous detail. The Deathworlders were out there, listening for SOS calls, and they answered only the desperate. As the ardent horizon departed Jareth 9, Talia gazed back at the colony. Humanity had survived, not because of fleets, not because of weapons, but because someone had learned the ultimate truth about the universe. Survival sometimes required calling upon forces far greater than oneself and trusting they would honor the plea. And somewhere in the darkness, the Deathworlders waited, unstoppable and patient, for the next call. No one else would ever forget the day the SOS summoned the unstoppable Deathworlder fleet.